Hey, what's going on, guys? Garden Shed here and welcome! This is the first ride I've had in months where I'm allowed to be out for recreation. So I can go the long way, I don't need to feel guilty about riding a bike and having an essential reason and making a video. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today was adventure bikes and short people. If you've ever seen any of my reviews, you will know I am 5'6", which is short for a bloke, average height for a woman. I will point out I'm average height for a woman. I saw reading a post the other day and someone said they don't understand why short riders like adventure bikes. And I thought, hang on a minute, I'm a short rider. I have 2 adventure bikes. So I thought it would be quite fun to do a little bit of a video about it. Now the whole thing stemmed around, I've recently seen that Yamaha have announced the new T9. Sorry, the Tracer 9, not the T9, the Tracer 9. And the Tracer 9 is the new version of the Tracer 900, which is sort of their road-going, adventure-style bike. What's got me excited is the seat height, which is 810mm. Now, for those of you who don't know, a stock V-Strom 650 is 840. Mine's got the lower seat, it's 820. There are very few adventure bikes on the market, apart from the T9, with a sub 820 seat height. It's standard. I'm not counting low suspension versions, and I'm really not a fan of low suspension bikes. I find the rebound in them vicious, so as you come out of a bump, it sort of fires you up out the seat. Being 5'6", adventure bikes naturally don't like me, because they're mostly around sort of 840, 850mm. And 840mm, I struggle to tiptoe. 810, I can just about flat foot. 800, I can flat foot. Now obviously it depends on the width of the bike and the bodywork, etc. So for example, a Yamaha FJR 1300 has a really low seat height. I can't remember what it is, I'll put it on the top of the screen. However, it's an incredibly wide bike. I can't even get one off the side stand because it's so wide. Because obviously your legs bow outwards a little bit more, therefore, you know, they're in effect shorter. So the T9 to me looks really interesting. So the only real sort of short adventure bikes without going into low specification prior to the T9, I'm pretty sure, is a Royal Enfield Himalayan, which is 800mm, give or take, and also the Tiger 900, the GT, sort of the road ones, not the rally versions. So it was the base Tiger 900, which is now becoming the 850 Sport, GT Pro and the GT. They're all about 810. And I can get my feet down on them. When you're as short as me and you're riding a tall bike, camera in your riding. So for example, I have a hatred of the hard knock pass because I've done it on this, and because of the angle of the corners and the sort of slant in the road, I've forgotten what you call it, camber, I can't get my feet down. If I have to stop, I cannot get my feet down. And it's the same a little bit with, I mean, this is a very mild example, but this junction here, if I'm coming the other way, obviously it's going downhill into a road. One side I can get my leg down, which is absolutely fine, not a problem. However, if the bike starts to tip the other way as I'm pulling up, even though the junction's straight downhill, you know, naturally whether you're going left or right, you're slightly diagonal to which way you're going. Say I'm going left, I can get my left foot down, not a problem at all. However, if the bike tips right, there is no way in hell I can get my right foot down, especially if I've got Hannah on the back, because it's even more weight. So it gets really nerve-wracking on certain roads, and there's certain, I know that junction I'm fine going this way. However, if Hannah's on the bike, I will not come the other way because I cannot stop the bike doing it, and it kind of ruins my riding when I have to think like that. But for the most part, the V-Strom by myself is absolutely fine. It's not really an issue. I really welcome it because it gives us more options, especially if you're a short person and you want an adventure bike. Adventure bikes are very tall by nature, you know, primarily, although not so much now in terms of like the BMW S1000 XR, etc. But they were designed for long distance, all terrains, you know, basically like an off-road going tourer. But naturally a bit like Range Rovers and most SUVs, the majority of people use them on the roads. Now, I can't really complain because I don't take my V-Strom off-road because I'm not tall enough for it. So naturally, you know, adventure bikes have longer travel suspension, therefore the seat height's a lot taller, which is a bit of a pain for somebody of my stature. They are sort of our natural enemy, along with supermotos and enduro bikes. And I believe somewhere, if I can find it, there is a picture of me sat on a Husqvarna 701 and my feet are about 15 centimetres off the floor. If adventure bikes are so tall, why do short people like riding them? I can only talk on my sort of experiences. My ankles and joints are absolutely knackered. As we found out in the Isle of Man, sports bikes are completely out of the question for me. I can't do more than about 100 miles a day on a sports bike without being in pain for weeks. So part of it is the riding position, which is great. Now you could say, Taurus, we've already been through that, they're actually really wide. The other part of it is this long travel suspension. So I can ride, which I love riding roads like this, and I don't often feature them in videos because they're sometimes a little bit dull to watch. I like exploring the countryside, so for me, the long travel suspension, or better suspension of an adventure bike, is really useful. Combine that with you do not want to ride a sports bike down here. Adventure bikes, by you know, the very adventure-y nature of them, there's loads of luggage options. They tend to have, you know, higher rated chassis in terms of weight, so you know you can carry, you know, all your camping kit on it and a pillion, etc. But naturally, you know, I can bimble along a road like this in complete and utter comfort. But also, they're more comfortable than nakeds because of the suspension. The riding position tends to be a little bit more upright. And also, you know, you have screens, a little bit of sort of bulbous tank, etc. So they're not, and the seats are comfier because by nature they're designed for distance. So for me, an adventure bike is that optimum thing of comfort, practicality, and also fun. See, a road like this is not all about, you know, fast-paced riding, etc. But it's a very technical road to ride, which I actually really like. You know, you've got gravel in there, you've got potholes, mud, a lot of mud, sodding tons of mud. Oh, I can't see around that corner, there we go. So for me, you know, all the selling points of an adventure bike that draw people to adventure bikes still apply. The only downside for me is the seat height. Like, if I have to try and stop this off, you know, on uneven surfaces, it is an absolute struggle. But I love riding roads like this because, as I say, you know, you've got potholes everywhere, you've got loose gravel, you've got inclines, declines, steep bends. I find them, okay, I'm going a bit slower than normal because of it's sodding muddy. I like it, it's the technical riding of these sorts of roads that I really like. Don't know, and also you see more. It's a bit like driving on a motorway. You don't see much from a motorway, and it tends to be the more minor roads you use, the more picturesque somewhere is. But for me, as a short person, adventure bikes tick all the boxes due to the nature of them. They tend to be a lot taller. So I'm always really excited when a short height adventure bike comes on the market, because it means another option when I do decide to move on from my V-Strom. And the Tiger is massively more expensive to run, which I'm hoping Yamaha servicing cost won't be as bad as Triumph's. And also, I think Yamaha's service intervals are better than Triumph's. I mean, I know the new Triumph Trident and the 850 Sport now have 10,000 mile service intervals, which is perfect. Yeah, so this is more the type of road that I like riding on, which is, you know, Twisty B roads rather than, you know, I like unclassified roads. This is what I find most fun, so I might as well have a bike that's more geared to it, because you would get smashed to pieces riding a sports bike along here, or at least I would, and especially with my bad joints. See, my right foot on this junction, because it's unlevel, it is literally my very tiptoe that's down, which is fine with me, because you know, I can balance the bike, but when I have like Hannah moving around or something when I'm stopped, it's so difficult to balance the bike. But also the nice thing about adventure bikes is once the road gets a bit smoother and a little bit more windy, they're still really fun to ride. You know, they're not like a hulking great tourer. And my use, my riding habits, etc., and touring and stuff like that, adventure bikes, for me, are perfect, aside from the ride height. And I quite like the fact that on an adventure bike, I mean, I got smashed to pieces around the Isle of Man on my CBR. It hurt for about 6 weeks. And it's because part of when I'm riding by myself, I go, oh, what's down here? Well, there'll be a road you keep driving past. You go, I wonder what's down here. What's it like? So you go down it, and it turns out bumpy as anything. And it tends to be, you know, a lesser used road. Now, granted, you know, I don't need an adventure bike to be riding on roads like this. You could do it on a sports bike, as I'm sure you can see from the camera vibrations. But this is the thing about adventure bikes, you know, they can do the rough roads, but then you get something a little more open, like this road, and they're just as much fun to ride. I'd say they're more fun than, you know, a big tour or something like that. They've got the cornering ability. You know, on this ride, and this is just me heading to the bank, you know, I've not made a point of going out my way or anything. The perfect bike for every road, for every occasion. And that is why, as a short person, I love adventure bikes. That was a bit closer to that car than I would have liked, but I was trying to avoid the mud in the road. It was like that would cut the corner short. But let me know, are you a short rider? Do you like adventure bikes? How do you find riding them? What do you think about adventure bikes being available with lower seat heights, such as the T9, the Tiger 900? Personally, I really welcome it, because anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, then please click the like button and subscribe to see more. If not, tell me why you didn't like it. But anyway, thank you ever so much for watching, and take care.